All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the hose of the Enneagram. I'm here with Rob today of AP. If
Yo.
you don't know what AP is, attitudinalpsyche.com, you should skip this episode and go to the website and subscribe and watch the videos and get typed by Rob, because we're talking about some deep cuts of AP Enneagram insights. So recently, Rob had a huge typing overhaul that a bunch of people got retyped. I got retyped, and a whole bunch of people got retyped, and there have been a few crash outs and drama. But amidst all that,
Yeah.
there's been a lot of insights, and there's been a lot of conversations cross pollinating between some of the stuff that we know with our typings and what Rob's been seeing with his system. So today we just wanted to talk about your typing overall, what you've realized, and some of the new insights, and maybe we can compare notes on what we've seen over the years. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's my intro.
Yeah. So, yeah, what did happen? I mean, man, honestly, I started reading Jung again, and then I was hearing a lot about OPS and all the Jungian systems or whatever. And for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
I've always thought, something weird is going on with AP. There's something I'm missing. But if you can't put your finger on it, it's like you can't really change it. So it had always
Mm-hmm.
been there for a few years. I've been thinking about this, like something's up. So I made the subtype system and I thought maybe that'll solve it. And it didn't. And
Mm-hmm.
it just hit me one day. So started going through everybody's videos again. And I'm like, huh. Yeah, there's something weird going on here with E and L. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And as I started comparing it to like OPS and Young, I was like, yeah, these people, these are evaluating aspects. So E and L, they're both about making judgments, evaluations, labels. It's the point where you say this thing equals something. You're giving it a value
Mm-hmm.
and you're saying it out loud. And I'm like,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of people that are doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like,
Yeah.
uh-oh, we're going to have to go through every type. And not only that, but we're also going to have to figure out how each aspect is related to each other. So that's where I went
Mm-hmm.
back and made the dichotomies that you guys know, which weirdly enough, the dichotomies created triads too, because
Mm.
there's like three different pairs you could have. So L could be paired with
Right.
E, it could be paired with V, or it could be paired with F. So it
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of unlocked, like, yeah, it is kind of similar to Young, and Young is what made me do this, but it's different in that it can be in any order. Like in Young, you can't
Mm-hmm.
be FI and TE up front. Like you can't have feeling and
Right.
thinking up front. But in AP, you can. So you can have,
Mm-hmm.
the equivalents, whatever you would call it, E and L, you could have those up front, and which you do in AP. So yeah, that started the train.
And so you had to go back and retyped everybody and
Yep.
every typing, which is fun, by the way.
Very fun. Yeah, that was interesting. It's also really fun when everybody's pissed off about their new type. Done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
For me, it had to be done
Right.
just
Right.
because I don't know, like we want to get accurate types and realizing that there's this huge group
Right.
of people that are, 4E or 4L or whatever, thinking that they're not. Yeah, it had to be done. So, yeah, anyway, I was talking earlier
Mm-hmm.
about how it relates to Jungian or whatever, and how you can basically have any combination. You don't have to have, they're not paired like they are with Jungian. And I think that's what was hard for
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
me to understand because, I'm not used to that way
Mm-hmm.
of thinking. We're always like, no, if you have feeling, you have to have thinking last. So seeing all these people who have both up front or
Right.
both in the back, it's just like, what the fuck, very different from the way that I was used to seeing it. So it took a little bit of time to get used to
Mm-hmm.
what that looks like with people. It's a new way of typing. We've never seen anything like that before. It's completely,
Right.
novel compared to that. So yeah, that was the big thing was redoing everybody's types and then figuring out that your last attitude is what you're pants shittingly terrified of.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that was huge. And then seeing that play out in people's videos and seeing it play out in life too. Like, what is this person afraid of? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that also aligns with what they're doing with their Enneagram type. Like, they're
Yeah, right.
trying to avoid the scary thing that they think is going to kill them. So,
Yeah, it seems like a lot, at least from watching your classes from before you started doing the retypes. Like there, it seems like there are a lot of new things, new pieces that you added to your process. For example, like the
hmm
dichotomies seemed like, whoa, this got really robust.
hmm
Like the Enneagram has like so many interlocking things that there's so many different ways that you could type someone depending on what you're seeing and what like how you want to put the puzzle together. And it seems like now you have even like way more than the stuff that we use. So there's like a lot of structure that you're using because you have triads now and you have these dichotomies. So it's been really interesting to sort of follow along. And then the fourth attitude thing seems so huge because now you're hitting on like these like sort of like life themes and patterns
yes.
that you're seeing. That's been really interesting to see. Like this is like really unique in the sense that you're noticing things that the Enneagram maybe can corroborate to some degree, but it's like very unique to AP, what you're
Yeah.
seeing.
Yeah, extremely.
So it's been really interesting.
Yeah, it opened the door for me. Like, it felt more real. Like when I was looking at people, I'm like, oh, no,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't just giving people descriptions and here you are on your merry way. Now it's like, oh, that shit you do in life,
Yeah.
that's that's what this is explaining. And it's talking about like
Right.
what
Right.
you are doing consistently and you're not seeing about yourself
Mm-hmm.
because you're too
Right. Right.
into your desires, which are your first two attitudes. You're not seeing the bottom two. I mean, some people they'll see their third attitude more because it's more conscious than the
Mm-hmm.
fourth, but there's a lot of people who don't, especially if it's like a zero subtype. They're ignoring that too. So just seeing this
Mm-hmm.
pervasiveness everywhere I looked, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I'm just like, no, there's something going on here. People are like ignoring something in their lives. And like that
Yeah.
has to be explained by AP. Like it has to be here. So, yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, that's one thing I liked about OPS's approach to MBTIs. Like they have, I mean, I guess MBTI does have, but they really emphasize like, oh, you have these demons and you have this last function, which is like a fucking nightmare for you. And then of course the Enneagram with the instincts has the blind spot that we're doing everything to sort of disown and avoid as much as possible to the point where we're demonizing it. And it's really cool to see that in your system you also have that, and it's one of the more glaring things that we can look at, just as much as you can say somebody's instinctual blind spot, and it's like, oh wow, their entire life path is colored by this avoidance of this area, or that becomes a personality type in itself of this
Yes.
blind spot. And so, like, you did an episode on the fourth positions, which is really cool. Like, just the life path of each one, or some of the things that each one struggles with, or how the avoidance of that fourth aspect creates, regardless of what the first three aspects are doing, creates a sort of uh, like style or approach, you could say. So yeah, maybe let's dig into that. Let's dig into like each of the fourth positions or fourth aspects, to the degree that
Yeah.
you want to. Like, 'cause this
Yeah.
is like part of your membership. Subscribe to TTTV if
Yeah.
you really want.
No, it's great. No, it's good to talk about. This is stuff I'm gonna put on YouTube eventually anyway. So,
Okay.
yeah, the fourth, I mean, that is really dominating people's personalities is that fourth attitude. So, yeah, you've got 4V, 4L, 4F, and 4E.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing that hit us off the bat is 4E is the most common type. Like, I didn't want it to be
Mm.
true. I wanted it to be
Yeah. Yeah.
even because I feel like that's more beautiful in a very
Right.
self-management way. But turns out, yeah, that's the majority of people is 4E.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can start there.
Yeah. Yeah. More on that point to begin with. That whole like, I mean, because I came into the Enneagram hoping, because it's more interesting if there's a wider variety of types. Nobody wants to see the same thing over and over again. And to see that it's so lopsided, that it's so heavily attachment and so heavily nine, that when you actually zoom back out and kind of compare that to what you know about the world and humanity and what people are like in mass, of course it makes sense. And so, comparing notes between our systems and like what we've seen with attachment, all the stuff that we've seen with attachment versus Hexad, where it's like the world is attachment and it's by and large nine. And so a lot of things that we might complain about or notice about people in mass, we're talking about nines. And so in your system, you've been typing primarily nines for the most part, and a lot of these reactions that you're getting from people saying like, how the fuck am I this type? Because it's like a lot of nines that you've typed are like V1 volition first. It's like, well, I'm not doing anything, how am I volition first? So it's like expose some of the nines that maybe got to that nine can sort of hide away in a certain way, but like your typing is really pulling up some of the things that they wouldn't rather not admit about themselves. Even if they don't feel like they're doing anything.
Abso-fucking-lutely. And to go on to that point even further, a lot of these nines who are 4E are having trouble because that means volition again is somewhere in the conscious mind. Those first three are conscious. The last one is extremely unconscious. So they're having a hard time coming to terms with that because the 9 ego is saying, I have nothing's pushing me. I don't exist in the world, but what they're saying is implying that they do think about how they exist in the world. And they do think about where they're headed, what their personality means to other people around them. That's another huge volition thing. And also what they want, and even like the chess pieces they're playing on the board so they can get to where they want to be with these 4E9s, that is happening constantly. And they're thinking about that all the time. And when you catch them doing that, they don't like it.
It's the funniest thing how in typology, the most common, of course, in the world, the most common types are nines, but also the pursuit of being seen, of like what is my type, is most interesting to nines because it taps into that sort of attachment thing of I can you guys keep looking at me even though like I don't think you were able to define or figure out what this is. Like I want there's a new system, I want to go get typed in it so I can figure out if I can solve this problem, never ending problem of what am I. And so it's interesting that when nines get, not say called out, but exposed or located by something like, send in typing videos and we're watching them and they're saying and being a certain way and you're saying, this thing that you're doing is located here. The 9 impulse per the type structure is like, well, I'm just going to dissipate. Like that's not the point that you've pointed out is a ghost. Like you can never actually pinpoint a centralized me, and if you try to, it's going to slip away. And so you retyping people and sort of exposing this new facet with a lot of volition being in the top 3 is like probably triggering on a collective level of like these 9s being located like, oh, you're actually more calculating than you would admit to yourself.
That's right.
That's right. So like, and these 9s are like, how the fuck am I volition first? How am I, but like you're saying it, you're being it.
Yeah. Your mind is literally thinking about your personality and how it can change at all times. That's volition. You're thinking about the timeline that we're on. You're thinking about the past and the future and how these things interrelate, especially 9-wing ones. Like a 9-wing 1V, you would think, how the hell is that possible? But that's what they're doing. And then just another point to what you're saying is, a lot of them being 4E, E is really the aspect that kind of aligns with your soul and who you are and what you relate to, who you relate to, and who is good, who's bad, what has good value to you personally, only you. And that is what I see more 9s are running away from than volition. They think it's volition, they think, I haven't left my house in 3 days and I'm comfortable, I'm low
Mm-hmm.
volition. But what they're doing is they're avoiding the part of the soul is I'm going to
Yeah.
decide I like this thing or I'm going to do this thing or this thing aligns with me. Those value judgments, that's what they're pushing away, a lot of these 4E9s.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to give that thing value. I don't want to tell that person how I
Mm-hmm.
feel about them. I don't want to break up with my boyfriend that I've had for, all these different
Mm-hmm.
value things that require you to have more conscious expression up top.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Right.
what they don't have. And that's really what they're avoiding and not realizing. And they're blaming it on volition when it's not.
That's really interesting when I think about that, because when you look at what we know about nines, um, over and over again, generally, it's like nines can be really busy and be really accomplished, but at times it feels like I'm refusing to exclude. I want to,
Yes,
like, over universalizing whatever
that's right.
instinct their dominant instinct. It's like to exclude feels wrong at times to nine. Like, even if
Hmm.
nines that are very specific, like maybe David or whatever, there's still going to be an element of like, we should widen the aperture a little bit. And expression feels like if you actually love something, the more intensely you love something or identify with something, the more you're going to exclude other things. Like, it's going to create some extremes that I
Yes.
love this or I hate this. And whenever you do that around most nines, the impulse is like, well, like they meant well, that's sort of like
Yes.
seeing the other side or over identifying with the other person rather than
That's
being like,
4E.
I hate what happened
Yeah.
and I'm going to do something about it.
Yep. You're describing 4E. And, just another point, a lot of nines are also like the second most common would be 4L, but that's still
Okay.
an evaluating aspect. So
Mm,
they're still
yeah.
having the same problem. It's just more making objective value judgments, like paying attention to what
Mm-hmm.
the actual rules are. Like, nope, it's out of my mind, out of sight,
Mm-hmm.
out of mind. You know how nines can kind of like water down how things are supposed to go because they don't want to do it that way. So they're kind of
Right.
ignoring. So
Right.
that's
Right.
the other version that we get a lot is the 4Ls, but
Mm-hmm.
the 4Es are more common, obviously. So both of the evaluating and having both evaluating on the bottom of their stacking is also common. So all those
Mm.
types with high V and high F, which makes sense. Body type, you're going
So,
to have high V and high F a lot of the time.
yeah. Talk about like evaluating, I guess, versus the other opposite dichotomy,
Experiencing.
because saying that, yeah, okay, evaluating versus experiencing, and if most people have both evaluating aspects in their last two, then, and we know that most people are nines and it's mostly Bermuda, that is describing something about essential about nines and Bermuda. And so, like, yeah, say a little bit about the evaluator versus experiencer, because it's like, okay, most people are experiencers, and so what does that
Mhm.
say about people?
Yeah, most people are perceiving things constantly. So most people are just looking at the world and they're taking in what's happening to them through the senses or through their intuition. So when you have both of them up front, you're doing a lot of taking in and a lot of reflecting on what your intuition says about it. So intuition is
Mm.
automatic. Intuition just happens. It comes to you and then you just see it. It's patterns,
Mm-hmm.
it's the future, it's you trying to understand how we got here from the past and any of those things are automatic. So I mean, and it's useful too because we need people who are noticing what's changing in the world around them or how things
Mm-hmm.
could change. You need people who are doing that. But when you have both of them up front, it's a lot of refusal to actually organize the information or actually
Mm.
put it into a structure and force it
Mm-hmm.
into a structure. Or even this, they'll have trouble using like previous rules that they had for something to apply it to something new because the first
Mm.
thought is, no, I want to feel I want, whatever my eyes, my sight, all my senses are telling me, I just want to do that like it's brand new in that circumstance. I don't want to apply a rule that I have, or even worse, I don't want to apply like my personal likes and dislikes. I don't want to apply that to this new information. So it's a lot of people running around like just being into whatever new information is available for whatever thing, and
Yeah.
not creating structure or not thinking about structure until way after.
You know what that reminds me of is, I mean, of course, I'm sure there are going to be attachment types that are evaluators, but just the phenomenon that you're describing of experiencer, you could map to the attachment to disconnect sort of approach, like, attachment types adapting through assuming sameness. And so there's kind of like an openness to what is in the moment. And so the attachment engine works by, if I'm assuming sameness, we're going to inevitably run into a disconnect, and we're both going to adapt and continue the pattern of. And so there's an element of just an awareness or openness to what is happening right now with this object, or the social object, or sexual, or self-pres, and that I'm have to be aware of what's happening in order for me to possibly adapt to stay connected to this thing. Whereas, the evaluators seem like, I have an ideal, I have a discriminatory position, maybe a preference from before, or something that I'm going to use to filter my experience. And so that seems or sounds a little bit more Hexad, in the sense that, I'm going to go into a situation no matter what happens. And I mean, I know I have this as a sort of like assumption that things are happening, but I'm going to find myself no matter what. Like, I'm going to find what I like. I'm going to find the thing that I'm looking for no matter what. Like, I'm going to eat it up, like my experience, and make it mine, versus, so it's not even about what's happening. It's like, no matter what happens, I'm going to find the shade of color that I like. I'm going to find the sounds that I like. I'm going to find the people that I like. I'm not even going to see anything else.
Yeah. And that comes off very overconfident to the experiencers, because they're like, how could you know that? How could you be so sure? And it's like, well, that's what evaluators are doing. They're materializing. They're making something come to be by what's inside of them. Even L, even 1L. A lot of people, they don't understand that about 1L, is that it can be just as judgmental as 1E. It's telling you, here's what I think is right. And it's based on their own rule set. And it came from them. It didn't come from their senses. Right. It didn't come from, like you said, just being open to whatever experiences happened to them. No, that's not where it came from. They come into things with a pre-planned judgment. Or if they want to throw that judgment away and do a new one, whatever experience they're having, they're going to do that too. But either way, it's they're the boss, and they're saying, I am the boss. I'm not ruled by my senses and by my intuition. I'm ruled by what I say is correct, or what I say I like, or what I think is me versus not me. So it's very similar to Hexad versus attachment. Like,
that's interesting.
And it's happening all the time. And when you do get an attachment type that isn't an experiencer, right away. So it's very obvious, and it's clear they're having some issue coming to terms with both parts of their personality like that. So very interesting.
That's interesting. Okay, so we've talked about 4E. Is there anything you want to say about 4L, just for any of the people who are 4L? I mean, it's also an evaluator, but like, what have you noticed about 4L?
Yeah, so 4L, that's like the fantasizer, because they're not following rules at all. They're not wanting to think about rules. It's just not in their conscious mind unless they have to, like if it's means for survival or something. Or if it's like getting in the way of their first attitude, then they'll kind of like deal with it. But yeah, it's just imagine somebody who just refuses to make rules about their life, about where they're going, about how they talk. I mean, they're not gonna they're going to be in a fantasy, but the weird part is this isn't like a mental fantasy. Like when you think fantasy, you think somebody who's just like out there woo woo. This is like a
Yeah.
very sensual fantasy that they will do. So it's like, you know, because they want to feel what they want to feel and they want to have the intuitions they want to have. And then they have E somewhere in the conscious mind as well. So they're also delineating this is better than that, or this thing is really what I want. So a lot of times it's physical. It'll be like a physical space. Like, you know, I want to create
Yeah.
my fantasy room or my fantasy relationship with all these crazy. It's very fantastical.
Which, by the way, I hadn't mentioned my typing because I was initially, you typed me LEVF and then I got retyped ELVF. But on the topic of the 4Ls, David, you have typed as 4L and Joseph as well. And
Yes.
very different expressions of 4L.
Yep.
And, you know, of course, very different Enneagram types and everything. But so, like, can you thread the line? I don't know if this will...
This is a
I'll
good
keep
one.
this in, but like I'd be interested
No.
to see if you could thread the line between Joseph and David, both being
Yep.
4L Fantasizers, but very different.
Yeah, this is a good one because if you have one E up front and then you have 4L, you've got two evaluators on the poles. So you're looking at you're going to be you're going to be afraid of one type of evaluating, but you're going to go all in on another type of evaluating. So what'll happen is Joseph's type, or EVFL is the other one that's 1E. Both of those types will be more assured of what they want. So it can come off more like they're more here in reality and they're paying attention because they're really like materializing who they are and and what they believe they want, etc. But like once you kind of pull back that, you see how they're fantasizing and how they think they can override the rules and how they think that their desires and what they want and who they want and their relationships, they think that there are no rules on any of that, so that they can do whatever to get the people around them and the friends and whatever their relationships. Whereas with and you know, in Joseph that is the case. He's surprisingly okay with, you know, bending any rule to be around the people he wants. You know, I'm gonna have you, I'm gonna cut you off. Yeah, it's very sharp in that way. Whereas if you have like a 1F with 4L, which would be David, it's going to be more like the rules are affecting my senses and what I want around me. So it's going to be way loftier, way more up in the air. You're not going to get as much of like a harsh judgments about your fantasy that you want. So it's rigid fantasy versus kind of floaty fantasy, which really describes the two of them pretty well. So yeah, your first attitude, it's always going to color it.
No, that's a good point. Like 4L not wanting to make rules, and it seems like not wanting to categorize something as something. You know, that's probably, I mean, Joseph is 461, so there is a lot of rigidity there, but there's a slipperiness around let's just call this what it is about both of them, I could say. And maybe because it's more intense with David because he doesn't have any evaluator up front. He's more like what I'm experiencing is what I'm experiencing. Like to put it in a certain box that's not what the point is. That's not what he's doing. It's just what I'm doing, and the narrative that I have about what I'm doing is all that matters.
That's right. Yeah, in some way you could say it like if you have any evaluator up front, even if the other evaluator is in the back, you are still going to put things in boxes. It's just, what is it based on? Is it based on your own likes and desires and your own personhood, or is it based on what you think is correct or right versus not correct? And those can look so similar, so it's hard to parse that out. You really have to look at like how people live their lives and like what rules do they follow versus which ones do they not. That's where you can catch them. You can start to see the 4L fantasizer just not following any rule whatsoever. Only
Mm-hmm.
what they like and don't like, and who they like and don't like. It's yeah, it's fascinating. Where if you look
That's
at like the
interesting.
opposite, like a 1L and a 4E, which is like if you were to flip that,
Like, yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah.
going to be where you'll see people are just doling out rules that they think are true, and they're not thinking about
Mm-hmm.
like, well, do I personally like that person or not? Like they're not thinking about that
Right.
at all.
Yeah, you typed OD, what was it? LVFE?
FE. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, and that's an interesting one because as a 6, he has a lot of that type seems like a very heady. There's a lot of like, this is the narrative or the rules that I'm following,
Hmm.
or why I'm doing what I'm doing, and he can do that, but then not really tap into like, what, how do I actually feel about this? That's more on the back
Hmm.
end. It's like there's all these reasons why this is the right thing to do,
Hmm.
and then eventually the emotions sort of catch up, where it's
Yeah.
like, this is how I actually feel about it. It's like later that comes up.
Yeah. Yeah. You sit them down and you say, okay, well, what do you want? Like in your soul, what do you want? And that's where the 4E will
Right.
freak. They'll be like, I don't know.
Hmm.
What do I want in my soul? They're thinking about what's right or correct. They're not thinking about the soul.
Yeah, yeah. It does seem like, at least to me anyway, some of the things I saw with maybe attachment or nine fixtures, where it's like you're kind of disowning your own sharp edges. You're disowning the things that could cause either tension, or because nothing's ever like, this is what I want. Everything's complicated. Everything has there's always like a friction somewhere. So you can say like, I want to do this, but like I also know that like that would be the sort of nuanced like emotional response or preferences. Like it's
Yeah.
always complicated. So when someone is always saying like, this is why I'm doing this and it makes sense, and I'm like, you're not like, there's some tension here that you're not addressing. And
Yes.
so a lot of times the nines will just sort of flatten something
Mm-hmm.
and either say, oh, it's going to be fine, because like dealing with the complexity of how you feel about something is disturbing or it's uncomfortable. And so it seems like I don't want to deal with my complicated emotions to what I'm about to do or what I'm convincing myself is the right thing to do. And so
Yes.
I'm just going to say that these are the reasons why I think it's going to work. And so for me, I'm
Hmm.
just like, well, I see that, but like there are all these other I can see that you're having complicated emotions about this that you're not
Hmm.
addressing. Like it's obvious,
Yeah.
but you're sort of like to the back burner. It's like, well, I could go there, or I can just wait 6 months or a couple of years, and you're going to end up right there, and we can have that
Yeah.
conversation when it's all done.
Yeah. And they'll come to you. Here's the thing that they do, and they're really tricky about this, is those 4Es, attachment types, they'll come to you. They'll try to get you to start giving
Mm-hmm.
your E. Like, what in your
Yeah.
soul do you feel is right for me? And
Mm-hmm.
by way of you doing that, you're releasing a lot of their fourth attitude's tension around it because they're
Yeah.
outsourcing it to you. So when I used to talk
Oh
about an
man.
AP, I used to say, that's the outsource function. I made it sound fun because I'm a 7. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the thing you just let other people take care of. You don't care about it. You're just like, whatever. And as I found out,
Mm-hmm.
I was fucking wrong. People have a lot of problem with that fourth attitude. They will outsource it, like I just described, but they're still gonna have a blow up about it, 2 days later. It's still
Mm-hmm.
gonna ruin something that they were planning later on in their life because they're gonna realize, wait, I do fucking hate my husband of 20 years and want to divorce him. Like shit like that, you know?
And this is a topic we could go off on for a while, but like to get back to this attachment to disconnecting, because most of these people that you've typed that are 4E or 4L, or let's just stick with 4E, have been attachment types. And
Hmm.
there has been a few years ago when we landed on this attachment to disconnecting, or Hexad versus attachment. I was just processing a lot of these experiences that I've had that didn't make any sense to me, of attachment types, usually nines, that would come to you with a huge issue, and to the point where everyone else is activated about that issue and they want you to help them, and you spend all this time helping the nine, or the 6 figure out what this problem is, and they go back and do whatever the fuck they were doing before. Nothing changes, and you feel like a fucking dummy that you just expended all this energy trying to help someone who did not want to be helped. And I've started, I mean, there was a point where because I was doing a whole bunch of free typings online, and I noticed this pattern where I would get activated. So 9s show up to a group and they're like, please everybody type me. And everyone sort of, strangers, start helping the 9 figure out who they are. And then by the end of it, nothing happens. The 9 just sort of like, well, yeah, you guys all think I'm this type. Well, I'm just I'm going to be this other type. And they just, and so it was all a waste of time. And so
and then it's on to the
I made
next.
a rule that I'm not on to the next. I'm not getting sucked. It's just attachment bait. And I've realized that the attachment types, per the type structure, we are all unconsciously invested in recreating the conditions for us to keep playing out our type. And so attachment types need you to be invested in their situation. And if most attachment types are 4E, they want you to express the emotions or have the reactions that they're not having. So like so they don't have to do it. So that they can go back to not feeling anything about their situation and nothing changes. Me realizing that was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Attachment, I've been attachment baited into so many dumbass situations that never fucking changed. It's just a cycle. And I'm the one having the reaction they're supposed to be having.
Yep. And your prime bait as a 1E, you're going to have that. Like, they can sniff you out. These 4Es, they can just tell there's something written in our DNA where you just get around somebody that has that first attitude as your 4th, and you just can feel it. You just know. So it causes people to like prod at you, to get you to do it so that they don't have to. It's really, really fascinating. And I mean, it does happen with the Hexad types too. It's just usually not in this way, in this 4E type of way.
4E attachment way.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's really interesting. That's a really interesting insight from, what you've realized.
Yeah. It's been absolutely wild. And then to just see the different flavors of it, when you think, you're like, okay, this person is breaking that pattern. And then you watch and you watch and you watch and you're like, no, they're doing this. They're just doing it in a different way because they've got like L up front or V up front or there's something else going on. And people are really tricky. You have to really sit with it and figure out like, what is it? What are they actually trying to avoid with this 4th one?
So what would you say is one's reaction on the other side? Like, okay, you and I are both 1Es, 2 people who are 4Es. It's like, how does one react to someone whose last aspect is their first?
Well, you're doing it naturally all day, every day. So just by way of being who you are kind of dealing with it without noticing. Now, it can cause strife, though, because people will lean too hard on, like you said before, bringing things to your attention about, like, for us, this 1E, and getting us to start going off. And then, a lot of times 1E is really trying to figure out, like, where are you in relation to me? Like, are you close to me? Are you not close to me? Are we enemies? What's going on here between us? Right. And sometimes the 4E isn't going to give you that. And you're not going to... You're not going to know. They're so comfortable with you just making the judgments all the time and nodding their head that you're not going to have a moment where you stop and think, wait a minute, this person hasn't told me, like, where they stand. They're kind of just, like, letting me... do everything. So we can actually, weirdly enough, we can go a long time before realizing that these people are kind of relying on us. So now it's more obvious in like in a romantic relationship or like a sexual dynamic because you're kind of like forced to see who somebody is when it gets that close. But so that's where, like, in a relationship, you will see a lot of fireworks and sparks that come from that. A lot of problems, too. It's really hard to deal with that 1-4 dynamic unless you have like something else going on that keeps you interlocked. But it's also pretty fiery for chemistry. So it really like depends on how you want to look at it. But yeah, a lot of times we will get stuck, or the first added two will get stuck in that role with the fourth, and eventually they're going to get sick of it, and it's going to cause friction. There's going to be a blow up. There's going to be a something of like, why don't you know how to do this, or why don't you ever do this? Like, what's stopping you from doing it? Why is it always me? Which, again, naturally you're going to do it anyway because that's just who you are. But once you really think about the dynamic, you're going to be like, what's going on here?
Yeah, no, I mean, my reaction to it at times, it feels like, why, like, at least my best friend OD being 4E, it feels like there's intentionally omitting something about a situation that is like, isn't it obvious that, I mean, you obviously have a preference or a reaction to this, and you're sort of flatly just reporting the news. Yes. Especially when it's something like really significant, and I'm just like, so where are you at? Like, what, like there's obviously a reaction here that should be here, but like you're intentionally not showing that. And so I have to be the one to be like, okay, like, why are you not saying the obvious thing here? If I was saying something like this, I'd be like, okay, yeah, this is, and I'm excited about this, or, this other thing is happening. Especially when it's something significant, there has to be a reaction here, and you're intentionally not. And so now I'm, in a close relationship like that, you kind of expect it with people that you're not really close to. People, put up a wall, and so it's like that makes more sense to me. Like I'm not expecting someone to reveal themselves, but in a close relationship, I can imagine how 4E might feel emotionally unavailable. At least to me, it would seem that way.
Yes, and strategic. What you're feeling is the strategy of 4E. In, I'm going to say this, but I'm not going to say this, because they're aware. That's another thing. 4E, they've been around so many 1Es in their life. They're naturally drawn to them. They know a lot of times how you're going to react, because they've already like built the map of you in some sense. So a lot of times they know what you're going to say. They know how you're going to react, and they're going to omit things. Yeah.
On purpose. It's attachment bait. It's like, oh yeah, like, do you give a fuck? And sometimes my thing is, I know this is bait, and I'm not really interested in reacting to this. Like, I've reacted to this before. And sometimes attachment patterns just keep repeating because people know that they can count on saying or doing a certain thing to elicit the amount of investment, emotional investment from other people without giving any of their own. So it becomes a one-sided dynamic where, oh, I know I can say or do this, and I'm going to get people to react. It's like reality TV. It's like they'll do certain things in an episode to get people to, like, you'll tune into the next episode, and if you're tuning in, then you're attached to me. And so over time, that shit gets annoying. Just can we? But it's like, I want to continue to make sure that you are addicted to this show that is my existence.
Yes. It's so strategic. That's the thing. When you have 4E, well, that VL combo is going to be somewhere up front, and that's strategist. So you're going to have these. This is why I call the 4E the leverager, because that's what they're doing. They're leveraging everything they possibly can to not have to look at the values, not have to look at the E. So, that's what it feels like. Yeah, it's very leverager, and they don't like me to say that about them, but it's true. And it's the significant. It's because they're trying to detach from what's significant. They don't want one thing. It's like that tall poppy syndrome. You know what that is? Like, if one like flower grows way higher than the other ones, they got to come in there and be like, like that thing is too significant. That's sticking out too high from everything else. So I have to like figure out, strategize a way to get everything like back on even, because that's the fear, is like, I'm going to realize what's significant to me in my life, and then I'm going to have to make all these changes based on something that I don't even think about that much. Like, oh shit, that's terror.
That's really interesting. Yeah, there's a lot there on these like evaluator last attachment overlaps. that just, in as you were coming up with this stuff, was like, holy shit, you're talking about the attachment thing. A lot of what you're talking about is the attachment thing. And so it just brought up a whole lot of insights around attachment to disconnect, even just like, oh wow, yeah, like that is an aspect of what's going on, is externalizing one's emotional life to a certain degree, externalizing one's reactions to the point where, we sometimes talk about how attachment types can seem blank, or and that's partially what's going on, because the 4Es kind of seem like I'm trying to clamp down on any of these emotional spikes where that could create these frictions or edges. And so even if like a 9 or any of these attachment types have like a complex emotional life, on the outside you just don't see very much. They're not really giving you any spikes at all.
No. And when you do see it, that's not good for them. I mean, they will panic when you see it in them, because everybody has E. You're going to have all these E preferences, whether you like it or not. And an outside person is, if they watch you long enough, they're going to see like, actually, you do like this thing more than this other thing. You are invested in this relationship, or you're not invested in this relationship. Or you clearly fucking hate your roommate. Why aren't you moving out? What's wrong with you? And then they're going to, again, that forces them into processing that E. And that's why they aren't wanting to show it. They don't want other people to force them into that. They want, let's keep the attention on you over there. Let's keep you on your E, so I don't have to do mine.
Yeah, no, that's a significant pattern, especially knowing someone for a long time, is that, at least for me, I will know what they like and what they don't like, and what they're having a disproportionate reaction to. Because, I mean, people lie all the time. Your visceral reactions to what you like and what you dislike, you can't fake that. And so if you're looking and you've been observing someone over years and years and years, especially when attachment types claim that they're into something when it's obvious, at least to me, that they're not, I can't even be around that. Like, to know that, I know that you are lying to yourself about what you're doing, like, it drives me crazy to even see that. Like, it is such a, what's the word? It is such a violation of something so basic and essential to me that I cannot acknowledge that existence. Like, people who are pretending to be into or be excited about something that they're clearly not is like some wildly disturbing shit to me.
Yes. Yep. The thing is, as an evaluator, as soon as you get burned once by somebody, it's going to be really hard for you to look past that, because you're creating the rule. No. You're creating the rule in your mind, like, this person's shit, or this person did this thing, and now I know what they're capable of, and it's like, I'm not going to fuck with them anymore. And that's really hard for, like, an experiencer to understand. They don't do that much.
Okay. So let me explain what, at least from my point of view, because I've got both evaluators first, what it feels like. What it feels like to me, because, I'll go through some intense swings. I'm social blind, and so it takes me a while to actually get a real sense of where someone is located in the internal map I have of, like, how to connect to people and what I value, what's important to me. So it takes me a while to be like, actually see who someone really is. But here's the thing, and usually sometimes it takes me seeing what they prefer, what their actual preferences are. And sometimes seeing with these 4Es, it takes a while to actually find out what someone cares about. And what generally happens is that when I see someone make a decision that is obviously revealing their location, what they care about, and now I have a picture, I have a felt sense of what this person is. And it has like, in my body, it comes with a certain kind of feeling, color, sound. And if it's something that once I look, like, let's say someone does something that I feel is you could say like anti-creative, or you could say like, I can imagine myself doing something like that, or thinking about doing something like that, and it fills me with a certain kind of like aesthetic feeling that might feel disgusting. Maybe it's disgust, or maybe it's It's a whole bunch of things that now I've located your personhood, and it has a whole bunch of subjective reactions that I have now. And now once I've got that, it's like I've got you. I've figured out what you are to me, and there's nothing anyone can say or do to change that.
Yep.
Like I can't. It's like, you know, somehow you might look at something that gives you nausea. That's what it feels like. It feels like ew.
Yeah.
You're in like everything. Not even, and it's not even personal. It feels like on a spiritual level, you have to be erased. Like,
yeah.
It's like, it's not even personal. It's like everything that's ever existed that is like this has to be completely cut out.
Yes.
And it's such an intense reaction once I get there. And it's final, and there's nothing you can do. And so sometimes I might try to, I don't know, maybe I'm avoiding experiencing that, because if I do get to a place where I see something disgusting about someone, it's like there's no going back. Like there's nothing we can do. There's nothing to do.
Yeah, you're describing reactivist. That's the part of E that relates to F, actually, is you're reacting to what's around you and how you're picking up on your relationships and what other people are into. You're saying, you know, I gotta listen to you to figure out if you're good or bad for me. And that's the part that you're waiting to react. And then once you do react, it's a switch. And that's what makes E so different from F, is because F isn't doing a judgment after that. F is just saying, here's what I felt. Okay, now what's another thing I can feel?
It feels contaminating. It feels like just being in the same air. I say this, it's not really a joke, but I feel like once you realize certain things about people, that we can't share the same oxygen. Yeah. Like, we're not supposed to share the same molecules. Like, there's something fundamentally wrong about your existence that if I allowed myself to be in the mix with, I would feel contaminated. And so that, of course, there's a lot of Hexad stuff mixed into there. But that's what it feels like. It feels like no. Like, it feels like you got, you know, somebody just threw a bunch of dirty garbage fluid liquid on you, and it's like now you have to go take like 5 showers.
Yeah, I love how you have 4F coming out of that too. You're just like, no, the bad thing is like all the physical garbage and dirt that could get on me that then I would have to worry about. You know, it's very 4F.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about 4F.
Yeah.
We are both 4F. What's 4F?
4F is, man, it's the person who is obsessed with ideas, so much so that they're having a hard time keeping up with new sensations, or even like just keeping up with what's happening in the body, which is very odd as you're a body type, but it still applies to 8s that are ELVF, because I think I know some other ones. But it's this refusal to let anything physical limit you in any degree whatsoever. It's like the ideas have to keep going. I have to think of new ideas. I have to commit myself to a new idea and how good it feels to me to be in that idea. And I'm not going to let any of my other senses deter me from that. So what can end up happening is 4Fs will, again, ignore things that need paid attention to, like their surroundings, going to doctors, like doing all of the things that you need to meet your needs in your surrounding space. A lot of that stuff can get ignored or not paid any attention to, or it can even be like downplaying like how other people see things. So it can be like, no, your perception of that, I really don't give a shit. You know, like I don't want to think about that or have to process that. So that could be a lot of the 4F issue. So yeah, 4F, it's just a lot of ignoring the physical world and the sensations. Like I don't want to mess with any of these physical things that isn't going to support whatever idea that I'm on right now, because I'm obsessed with my ideas. So 4Fs have a lot of issues kind of listening to physical input or just other people's perceptions of things. Like it's almost like okay, I'm glad that you feel that way. I don't have any opinions about that because I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about whatever
Mm-hmm.
idea that I'm on right now. They can get really
Right.
obsessive. 4F can get so obsessed with things and then forget to just do anything that they needed to do or take care of because they're too into their obsession.
Yeah. Story of my life.
Yep.
I guess that makes sense for how we created, I mean, these Enneagrammer, and these are all obsessions that just wouldn't stop.
Yep.
Never ending ideas. Like that's how these groups came about. Why are we still doing all this stuff after so
Yeah.
many years?
Yeah.
If it's not an obsession with these ideas.
Yeah. It's anything shiny and new that you can, because what is ultimately, when you think about what that is, something that's new and novel, it's
Mm-hmm.
something that can't be felt by the senses. You're experiencing something that just appears out of thin air, and
Mm-hmm. Right.
that's not a sense. That's not a physical sense in any term. And you're not really caring how it makes you feel. You're caring that it's something new that you can sink your teeth into. So anything that
Mm-hmm.
takes you away from that is going to be a huge threat for 4F. And a lot of the complaints that like 1Fs will have about 4Fs is like, why are you not taking care of your needs? Why are you not like taking care of this and that? And why don't you come up with like a routine or a schedule or something? You're always like sleeping in fucked up weird patterns, and you're not like keeping up with what you should be in life. And they're like perplexed that there are no routines that we have.
Hmm. Would you say that it's in what ways are we with the 4Fs not doing experiencing and reacting that the 1Fs might be annoyed by? Like, so how are
Yes.
we not reacting to things or
We don't
the
see
experience of
danger.
things?
We don't see danger in the
Okay.
F. That's a huge problem. Is we can
Mm-hmm.
look at an F thing and we can think, do I like that or not like that? It isn't about, can that kill
Mm-hmm.
me? Can that hurt me? Can that send me to the doctor? Can that make me feel itchy if I deal with that? Like, that might be in there somewhere in your mind, but that's not the
Mm-hmm.
thing that you're thinking of. You're thinking of, how can I use that thing to support an idea that I have? And
Mm-hmm.
that's perplexing for people that aren't 4F. They're just like, you should be reacting to that with your senses because that might affect your survival in the body or your
Okay.
own personal needs.
Now that I'm thinking about it, the problem with the evaluators up front is that in the past, especially you could say with social blind, I might make a judgment about someone,
Mm-hmm.
and so sort of impose a filter and say like, this person's cool or this person's useful for this, or I have this relationship or reaction or emotional preference for this type of person, and then I get to know them, and maybe for a time it's aligned with that feeling,
Yep.
and then eventually things start to change and my
Mm-hmm.
experience with that person starts to shift. I've noticed that it takes me a long time to register, longer than it should, to register that what I'm experiencing now belongs or should be shifted to a new feeling. Because sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I might be so so attached to a prior judgment or
Mm-hmm.
preference that I've made. Of course, once I realize, oh, this sucks, like that's it, it's over. But like I have noticed that what I'm experiencing in real time, like I'm not as sensitive to that as I should be.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's the problem with being 4F is you're not listening to the body intuition that you're supposed to. And you as an 8 wing
Mm-hmm.
7, like that makes sense. You're being pulled towards the head center. You're not a 9, so you're not, all these 1F9s
Mm-hmm.
around. That's easy for them to feel the body intuition, but for the 8s and 1s,
Mm-hmm.
they're usually 4F, to be honest. So they're not listening to that core body
Oh wow,
intuition.
interesting.
It strikes them later on. It will hit them once they
Right.
have to deal with it. That's the thing about the fourth attitude. It's like, you're not going to fuck with it until you have to. And then when you have to, it's going to be like an overwhelming fucking wave that hits you, and you're going to be like, shit, now I got to deal with it. So that's what I believe you're describing.
Yeah. No, it's always sometimes after the fact that I've made a decision to make my experience of something better. Then I was like, man, I can't believe I was carrying
Yes.
that experience and calling it and categorizing or saying that it's one thing, but like I didn't know what weight I was carrying until I let it go, or until I left the situation. And so there's kind of like a dangerous way of disowning my own, like, you know, taking better care of myself and really realizing that I can be really affected by things beyond what I'm saying to myself it is. I mean, I can tell myself it's this, or this is how I feel about it, but like, what is it actually doing to me?
Yep.
How is this affecting me? And I need to take better care of my personhood and recognize that the things that I might put an idea on and say, oh, this is what kind of experience I would like to have, or this is the idea framework that I've put on this situation. Like, what is this doing to me? Is this an experience that I want to continue having?
That's right. And if you keep digging down to like, what is that? Like, what's going on with the 4F? Like when I dig at clients, what we get to is they're not thinking about what can kill them ever. They're just not, that's not coming up in the conscious mind. It's, and I can say this for my own experience as somebody who chases, you know, tornadoes and violent weather. It's fun. It's a fun, interesting thing for me. It supports my ideas and that I have, and I can think more about it. You know, I'm a head type, but I'm not thinking the danger is only something that I can do something with that danger. Like, so if you, anytime you dig at these 4Fs and ask them like, why not? They're always going to talk about how, well, that dangerous thing is fun, or I didn't really think about it, or I didn't really care about it until, you know, I was in the hospital. Then you have to.
Yeah, I guess in my case, I think about like my storm chasing is sort of like relationships or romantic relationships, and sort of the things and situations I've put myself in for romantic relationships, like, you know, picking up and moving to a place that I don't necessarily want to go, but I'm going for that person. I'm sure you've done that as well.
Yes, sir.
And so there's a way that the reason that's happening, I'm not thinking about like how is this going to affect my day-to-day life. I'm thinking, well, I'm in love with this person. I want to be with them. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to be with this person. If it means moving, you know, far away from where I want to be, that's what I want to be with this person. So it's like I'm imposing my emotional reaction or how I'm categorizing the experience that I'm having onto the actual experience. Like, so there's like a disowning of like, what is that going to be like?
Yes.
Once you actually get there and you're living day to day. Because for me, it's like, oh, you get there and then the reality hits your body. Now that you have to deal with the reality of what you're having to experience. And that overrides the rose-colored glasses you've put on the situation. Now it's like I'm getting bombarded with an experience that sucks. And now, you know, like you're having to recover from like I've been bombarded with the narrative that I'm trying to tell myself about this situation versus the actual experience of it.
Yes. And the most fucking crazy part about it is you'll ask a 4F, okay, would you go do it again? Or was it actually worth it? And they're going to be like, yeah. So it's mind numbing. And you lay that information in front of a 1F and they're going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not fucking moving. I'm comfortable here. Why would I move to another country for a relationship?
Or if I am going to move, we need the steps. We need the process. What is that going to look like? Like, how's that going to feel for both of us? You know, they're going through that stuff that you should go through when you, but it ruins if you do that as a 4F, it ruins the ideal because you are looking for that ideal image. And this is where 4F and 4L can kind of overlap because they both kind of look for fantasy oriented. It's just we as 4Fs, we do have rules in our head. We are actually thinking about rules. It's just we're not thinking about what limits those rules physically. That's the problem.
Right. Okay. Wow. Yeah. No, there's a lot there. But let's do 4V. Do I know any
Yes.
4Vs?
They're very rare so far. Like Kurt Cobain, if you want to look at
Okay.
somebody who's famous, he's a FELV.
Ah, okay.
FLEV, I'm sorry, he's a 2L. Yeah, and some of these really like sensual artists, I think, like Sade, she's probably 4V. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but 4V, it's a little harder to find, but it is let's see, how do I describe this? They're kind of stuck in the present moment. They're stuck in whatever is
Mm-hmm.
happening in the here and now. Like, I call them the Momentizers because they're 4V is looking at time. I'm sorry, 1V is looking at time all the
Mm-hmm.
time. And 4V is like, I don't care how things are going to evolve. I don't care how they're going to go. Like, I am just here in this moment. And that's all that I'm thinking about, whatever's happening here and now. So they're kind of like stuck in the experience of whatever's in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a little bit childlike when it comes to that. But they're also
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
what's maddening about 4V is that you can't get them to think about their future ever or anybody's future. It's
Mm.
like impossible to get them to plan things out or to talk about where they're headed or talk about like, what caused something to happen. Even like something going wrong in their life for them to, most people will try to reverse engineer, like, here's how I got to this point of
Right.
why this thing is fucked up. 4V won't do it. They refuse.
They're like so like the other ones. They're sort of sort of forced to do that for them
Yes.
in a way.
Yes. You're
Hmm.
forced to make the plans. You're
I think.
forced to be the one who is in charge, basically. That's why it kind of feels like they parentify you sometimes. And they're not doing
Okay.
it on purpose. They're just literally not wanting to think about the future. There's too much stuff that they can involve themselves here in the present moment. That's why, they're like over involved in what's happening now. That's why they're like, I don't want to think about bullshit later.
Doesn't seem like there's any sense of causation. Like doesn't seem
None.
like any sense of the thing that I said and did before has a direct line to what I'm experiencing now. Like the thing I did to this person in the past has a direct line to the decisions they're making towards me right now. It doesn't seem like there's any real sense of
Nope.
causation or consequences. And so when you're trying to point out to someone this thing that you're doing is why I'm having to make this decision now, it doesn't seem like, well,
Nope.
like there doesn't seem to be any sort of like ability to take that in. It's like this was not completely out of the blue. A bunch of stuff happened that you did and reactions or whatever that led to this moment.
Yep.
And you can go back and trace your steps and find the reason why you ended up here. But no.
Yep. It's predictable, and that's the thing that they refuse to acknowledge. It's like,
Mm.
no, nothing in life is predictable, is what they're saying.
Wow.
Nothing,
Yeah.
yeah. And they're really stuck, and sometimes, it's making the same bad decision over and over again, and that's what
Yep.
ultimately makes them break down because they're just like, oh my God, I actually have to
Mm-hmm.
think about why this happened. That can go one of two ways. They can accept it and think about it, or they can get even worse. They can go get into addiction. They can, there's a whole host of shit that they can do to try to keep avoiding it. Anything related to feel good in the moment.
Wow, that's interesting. Because that's very unique to AP in the sense of, because it might seem like this person has an allergic reaction to a self reckoning. Because I mean that's kind of what you would expect most people. It's like, all right, I had a collapse in my life. I need to evaluate what decisions and factors led me to this point so I don't repeat them again. And especially you would also get feedback from people if you actually want to know. People will tell you this is why you ended up here. And if you don't do that, it's inevitable that you will keep repeating the same problem that's unaddressed. And so it's interesting that Volition is the ability to see yourself on a timeline that you can, go back and retrace your steps and say, this is where I made decisions that led me to this point. And it would seem like, man, if you didn't have an ability to do that, like, how do you how do you make adjustments? How do you plan for the future if you're not learning from the past?
Yeah. And it's bizarre, and it's a lot of talking to a brick wall sometimes with 4Vs. That can also happen with 4E, but with 4V, it's like, okay, think of it. You've got E, L, and F up front somewhere. Those are all conscious. So you've got both of the evaluations, and then you've got your physics, how you're perceiving reality. That's a lot of just being in the here and now and thinking about, like, what do I believe now? How does this person affecting me now? So what you're missing out on is the fucking fourth dimension, time. Like, how, it isn't all about your momentary feel your fifis, right? In the moment. It's about how you're going to set up for that as well. And it's bizarre because you never have any issues figuring out what they like and dislike or what they think is right for themselves. Like, they'll tell you that. It's just, it's very right now. Like, so you will see, like, you'll see where it's headed, and you're like warning them, hey, you're going down like a path that's pretty fucked up. Like, why are you doing this? And they're just like, no, it's not. That's not how I feel about it. I feel whatever thing about it right now. So it's hard to, you can't prove it to them because they're not going to process that.
You know what it is? It's that if you know someone for a long time, you've seen them on a long enough timeline that you have a certain story about who they are based on what they've done, to the point where you can predict what they're going to do. And it seems like with these 4Vs that there's probably a situation where everyone is having to do the volition timeline of who they are, their identity. And it's like, this person, because with E, L, and F up front, they're probably pretty distinct in terms of, I'm saying this is what I like, this is what I'm doing. But if it's not adjusting with 4V, that means that then everyone else is doing this is who you've been over a long period of time. This is, and so when everyone else is saying to the 4V, look, man, this is where it's going. This is where you've always been going. And if they're not listening, eventually you're like, fuck this, man. I'm telling you what you've always done and what you're always going to be, but you're acting like it's brand new or it's just to this situation. No, you've been doing the same thing for the last decade.
Yes.
You need a change.
That's right. A good metaphor for them is they're a pinball machine. They're just like bouncing everywhere, making a bunch of noise, being wild, whatever. But they're hitting off the same shit over and over again. You're just pinging off the same fucking rubber bands that you've been pinging off of your whole life, and you're not realizing it. You're thinking because all the lights are going off that it's fun and woo, but it's like you're not going anywhere, and you're not seeing where you're going.
No,
it's
that's
just
really interesting.
It's random. It's so random. It's chaotic, really.
So that one's pretty rare, you say?
I would say it's maybe like 10%, 10 to 20% of the pop, like maybe 1 out of 7 people. Wow. Yeah, it's not a lot.
It sounds like on let's see, the 4F and 4V sounds more Hexad, because it's like there's a way that you're imposing an idea and you're avoiding factor in the flow of experience. Like what's actually happening. And so there's a certain kind of stuckness about 4V and 4F that sounds more of a Hexad flavor.
Yep. And what I've started to notice is, like, relating it to Enneagram, is 4F and 4V are often 9-wing 8, or they're like 6-wing 5, or 3-wing 4. You will see more of that weird attachment type that's not as common.
Okay. Sounds
so
common.
Like a lot of most of the 4Vs that are 9s are 9-wing 8.
That's really interesting.